Today's a very special day, not only because it's day 11 of Vlogmas, but today is actually my husband and I's wedding anniversary. So I thought for today I would do something a little bit different. I want to share with you guys what I use to plan and prepare for our wedding. And also share with you the template that I used whenever we were preparing for our wedding. Now, this is the actual template that I used whenever we were budgeting for our wedding. We got married back in 2021. And this was back before my budgeting journey really started. Now, I had been budgeting for about 2 years previously, and I paid off about $25,000 in debt. And so I was really just ramping up on my budgeting journey. I'd got a hold of my finances. And once I was debt free, I decided to go ahead and splurge on a wedding. And needless to say, we did overspend. And I feel like we spent way more. And I feel like now that I am looking back, I could have done a lot more budget friendly things. But because I had been budgeting for some time, we actually did the wedding and did it debt free. And we saved up as much as we could by doing different things within our side hustles and also just budgeting in general and cutting our expenses. And so we were able to save a lot for this wedding. But I'm really not going to get into how much we spent on our wedding, which could probably be another video for another day. But instead, I want to share with you this budget template. And this doesn't have to necessarily be used for a wedding. It can be used for any event planning. I know as a teacher, there's several different events that I have to plan for, that I have to buy different things and budget for it, but also plan in advance and make sure all the vendors get paid for. So any type of event that you use vendors for, this would be a great budget spreadsheet to use for that. Now, I'm sure that there's fancier ones out there to help you manage and budget for your wedding. And I did buy a couple different books on planning, wedding planning and wedding, mainly more planning than budgeting, but they all kind of went together. And this spreadsheet just really worked for me, helped me wrap my mind around everything that was coming up, because a wedding, you usually have to plan for a year or so in advance, sometimes even a couple years, depending on the person. And so knowing everything that we had to do and all the vendors that we had to get and make sure that we paid each vendor on time, because most of these vendors, while you may not use them for another year, they still want a down payment up front, so you can book with them. And some of the venues, they are booked out for sometimes not even months, but like years in advance. And you need to book the place in advance and be able to put down that money and deposit up front so they can hold it for you. And then throughout, you have payments. So again, this really helped me keep organized with everything that was coming in and out. Yeah, so let me go ahead and just jump into it. So this is my example one. I call it my example one, but it's pretty much what we did spend for our wedding for the most part. So let me just start up at the top. So right here, I just put in the 31st, even though this obviously wasn't our wedding date. I just put in a date here so you could see that it would tell you how many days left into the actual event. And then I have a little total spent here so you can see how much you spent throughout the year or multiple years, and then the balance remaining based off the budget that you set, if that makes sense. And then over here in the actual sheet, I went ahead and put all of the different things that we had to buy. For example, the venue was probably one of the most expensive. We had to get catering. We did a DJ. We did have a DJ, desserts. So this was like the person who did the cake and everything. We actually got it really inexpensive. The photographer, videographer, hair and makeup, the linens, bartenders, wedding dress, wedding coordinator, so forth and so on. So all the things that I knew I was going to have to pay for. And then here you can put the actual company, the vendor, the person, whoever you're paying here. And that's what I did. And I deleted these from mine, but I did leave some of them, like the stuff that I got from Amazon or the stuff that I did myself, if that makes sense. And then I put a check mark here, whether you pay cash or credit card. So while we did save up the money in cash, I actually took advantage of different rewards going on with credit cards and cash bonuses, or I guess opening bonuses. And I put everything on a card and then paid off that card whenever I made that purchase. So I was able to collect so many points because of this. I recommend that if you have an upcoming event and you have the cash to pay for it, Then take advantage of credit card bonuses and go ahead and open the account. Take advantage of whatever it may be. It could be a hotel, it could be airline, and take advantage of those bonuses that they have. And then use the card to pay for it, and then pay off the card and receive the perks of that. So we got so many between my husband and I, so many points, and we still have not used those points from our wedding. And actually, there's some transactions here, like I know our venue had to come out of my bank account. So that wasn't my credit card, if that makes sense. That would be cash, actually. So that's just an example. And then these are pretty much the totals that I paid, not gonna lie. Total transparency there. The most expensive expense was our photographer. I got a really good photographer, and I heard, and I've done a lot of reading, that if it's one thing you spend money on a wedding, it's a photographer. And I definitely, I mean, this is probably, I don't think I've ever seen a photographer cost more than this on any other channel or anybody else I've talked to. I guess some of my friends and relatives have paid that much, but because that's who referred me to this person. But with this, she also did my maternity pictures with this price and one other set of pictures. So I did get more than just the wedding, if that makes sense. But yeah, everything else was pretty standard pricing. I guess a caveat is like hair and makeup. I didn't pay for all this up front. This wasn't me. I only had to pay for mine. But this was the total with all the girls' hair and makeup together, if that makes sense. So all the bridesmaids, the mother-in-laws, and so they did send me the cash. So I technically did not pay for all of this. Again, some of these numbers I just kind of put in just as an example. And then I put in a miscellaneous, and this is just coming from this cell down here where I just listed a bunch of different miscellaneous, because whenever you have any type of event, you're going to have a lot of different miscellaneous expenses come up. Like I didn't necessarily get florals or flowers for my wedding, but I did get bouquets. And so this actually I didn't end up paying for either. I think my mother-in-law ended up paying for this for us. So the welcome sign, just different things you don't think about. Bridal party gifts, card box, guest book, the veil for my dress, cups for the drinks, glow sticks, trial hair and makeup, which I'm pretty sure was in that price, but I don't really remember. Appetizer plates. I mean, just like these are all miscellaneous things that came up mainly toward the end. I know alterations I did have to pay for a couple, for my dress and my stepdaughter's dress. The wagon, I do know we resold. So if I had to go back, and I know we bought decorations for this, and because I did resell everything that we did buy, I even resold my wedding dress. So some of this money I did recoup, it did make back. And also people did give us cash for our wedding as well. So that's also to be included. The one thing I have to say, I have to definitely mention is I totally underestimated was tips. I did not know that you had to tip pretty much every single person that comes to your wedding to help in some way. I had no idea until my wedding coordinator told me the proper etiquette. And so it's just something I didn't know and I didn't budget for. And again, if I had to do it all over, I think I would have changed almost everything. But we did have a beautiful wedding and amazing memories and pictures and videos. It was great. But now that I have been budgeting as long as I have, there's definitely some things I would change. But I wanted to give you full transparency there. For those of you watching, you're probably watching because you are about to have a wedding. If you can gain anything from my experience, then please use it for your benefit. So how I created this is I went ahead and put in the months before the event. And our event was actually in December. So if you scroll down, I ended it in November because my goal was to have everything paid off the month before, if that makes sense. So I started it in January. You can actually change these dates to whatever you want it to be, but this was mine in January. So what I did is I put in the amounts that I paid. So in January, I had to go ahead and pretty much put down deposits for everything at this point. And this actually included some of the things that I purchased in December. Like I think I purchased my dress in December, if I'm not mistaken. So I put that all in here because this is when I actually started all my expenses and started tracking them. So you put in what you actually spent in this column, and then it'll automatically track how much you owed based off the budget that you set. So I know that, for example, my venue was going to be $6,450. I put down my deposit of $1,612.50. So minus the original, I owe, as of the end of January, $4,837. And then as you can see, each time I made a payment, my balance goes down. And then that happens for each line item. And then at the bottom, it gives you your total. So the month of January, technically, it wasn't January. I paid all this. It was December and January, December 2020 and January 2021. I paid a total of $7,349.50. So technically, based off the budget I set, I still owe $21,000. And then each month, you see how much that I paid or how much that I put in. So a lot of my money that I was saving for my wedding was separate, and I was just saving off or saving up these items in my high yield savings account. And then when it was time to put them down, I would pay for them. Like, for example, the photography, like I knew I had to pay, I think it was like 4 different installments. So I went and did that, and I had the dates that I was going to pay them. So the money that I had saved, I just held in my high yield savings until they were due. I didn't go ahead and pay for everything early because they didn't even require for me to pay for everything early. And just in case anything were to happen, because again, this was kind of in the middle of COVID, just in case something happened and I needed to cancel, they wouldn't have to refund me that much, or I wouldn't lose out on that much money. Yeah, so all you do for this spreadsheet is you just enter in how much that you paid, and then it'll do the math all the way across. But you do need to know the total price of what it is that you are spending. And then throughout the year, you just track it for each month. And then when you get to the end, it'll tell you how much that you have left. So, yep. And then again, you can track those miscellaneous down here, and I'll just add to the miscellaneous column or row right here. So on this first sheet, I went ahead and I'm giving you this example. And then on the second tab, you have a clean example that you can use on your own. And then you can go ahead and delete the example one so you can start working on yours. Again, this doesn't have to be used for a wedding. It can be used for any big events where you have to make a lot of purchases and track them and budget for them. If you have any questions about this, you can leave them in the comments down below. Hope you guys have a great day, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.